Ever lost SSH access to your EC2 instance and didn't know what to do? It's a common issue, often caused by misconfigurations, problems with key pairs, or network connectivity issues. As a system administrator, SSH access is your lifeline to your server. Losing it can feel like losing control, potentially impacting your operations and causing unnecessary stress. Worry not, for this video will guide you through the process of regaining your SSH access. To regain SSH access, you will need to troubleshoot the instance. This process requires a bit of detective work, but don't worry, it's not as daunting as it might seem. Let's walk through the steps. First, you'll need a working instance in the same availability zone as your impaired instance. Think of this working instance as your helpful assistant, ready to lend a hand. Next, you'll need to stop the impaired instance. This step is crucial, as it allows us to safely make changes without risking further issues. Once your impaired instance is stopped, it's time to detach its root volume. The root volume is essentially the heart of your instance, containing all the data and software needed for it to function. Detaching it allows us to examine it more closely and fix any issues we find. Once you have a detached root volume, you are ready to move to the next step. After detaching the root volume, it's time to reattach it to the working instance. Let's walk through the process. Begin by attaching the detached root volume to a working instance. This will be as a secondary volume. You may be wondering why a secondary volume? Well, it's because we want to keep the primary volume running the instance while we troubleshoot the detached root volume. Once attached, you'll need to mount the secondary volume. This is akin to opening a book to read its contents. By mounting the volume, you're making its file system accessible to the working instance. Now that we have access to the file system, it's time to fix what caused the loss of SSH access in the first place. This could be a misconfiguration or a software update gone wrong. It's like playing detective in a world of code. After you've solved the mystery and rectified the issue, it's time to unmount the volume. This is like closing the book after you've finished reading. We do this to ensure the file system is safe and ready to be detached. Finally, you'll reattach the root volume back to the original or impaired instance. This is like returning a book to its rightful place on the bookshelf. In this case, the bookshelf being the original instance. After reattaching the root volume to the original instance, you should now be able to regain SSH access. So go ahead, give it a try. As we conclude this part, take into account that we have outfitted you with the procedure to restore SSH access to your EC2 instance. EC2 instance. From kickstarting a functioning instance, halting the faulty one to detaching and reconnecting volumes and rectifying the issue, Toolbox is now complete. We'll touch upon this understanding in the future. Keep in mind, every has a solution, and consider this one fixed. We'll soon be back with SSH access and delve into the essential commands needed for accessing the secondary disk. Multiple situations could necessitate accessing data on this disk, including troubleshooting or data recovery. We'll start with the command to list existing disks. Here, the lsblk command proves useful, as it presents a comprehensive list of all the disks and their subdivisions in your system. After this initial step, mounting the secondary disk becomes crucial. This can be achieved using the mount command along with the device identifier and the mount point. Typically, the device identifier appears similar to /dev/xvdf, whereas the mount point is a directory where you prefer the disk to be accessible. Consider mount/dev/xvdf/mnt/mydisk, for instance. Once mounted, the cd command, followed directory path defined during the mounting, lets you navigate to the mounted disk. For this example, it would be cd/mnt/mydisk. These commands simplify accessing the secondary disk for troubleshooting or data recovery. However, a more detailed exploration will be undertaken later. Bear in mind, the secret to effective problem solving is comprehending the tools at your disposal and learning their proper usage.